Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be creating this orange grungy fall makeup look. So if you want to see how to get this makeup look, then just keep on watching. Okay, so I've already prepped my skin. I just applied my normal daily moisturizer. So since this is a more eye heavy look, I'm going to begin there. And I'm going to prep my eyes using a new concealer to me, the Nyx Born This Way concealer. And I have mine in the shade Alabaster. So I'm just going to swipe a little bit onto my eyelid. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the palette, the e.l.f. and JKissa palette. This is what the packaging looks like if you haven't seen it already. I'm sure most of you have. It's a beautiful, very colorful palette, obviously. And I really like the way this palette is laid out. Because it's very straightforward. There's a lighter shade in each color, a deepening shade in each color, and then a shimmer or metallic shade in each color. So, you know, if you're not feeling very inspired that day, you can just do a monochromatic look and call it a day. It makes it a really easy and approachable way to play with color, I think. So for today, I wanted to do something that was inspired by fall, even though I know fall is pretty much over. I don't know, I just wanted to create a look that was inspired by a pumpkin, so orange and greens, just because I feel like it's not your traditional look, obviously, but I also think that orange and green are, out of all the colors, probably two of the most wearable colors. So for someone starting off with color or wanting to dip their toes in color, I think orange and green are probably the best places to start, just because you can find colors, you can find shades in those colors that are a little bit more muted, not as in your face and neon. This palette is a little bit more bright, I will admit, but if you don't feel comfortable going in with one of these bold primary colors, you can definitely find a more muted orange, like a burnt orange in a different palette, or a mossier, darker, browny kind of green. Just search around in your eyeshadow collection and I'm sure you can find something that will work for this pumpkin look. So to start off, I'm going to keep it really simple, and I'm just going to take the shade Zuma. I'm just going to apply that all over my lid. So I'm going to take it on this IT Cosmetics brush. It's fluffy, but it also has a really large surface area, so I like it for packing on color. And I'm just going to liberally dip in here, tap off a bit of the excess, and then go in. So I'm just going to start applying this as close to the lash line as I can, because that's really where I want most of the pigment. It's 4 AM, guys. I need all the coffee that I can get. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same thing on the other eye. There's quite a bit of kickback with these shadows. They're pretty powdery, but they have good pigment, so I don't mind. And now, since I have most of the color placed down, I'm really trying to apply as least amount of pressure as I can, because if I swipe too much, I'm going to just remove everything that I just placed. So I really want to use gentle tapping motions just to apply the pigment to areas where I feel like it's a little bit patchy or sparse. Okay, so already I feel like even though it's orange, it's still wearable because it's not everywhere, right? It's just in this one little area right here that you can see when I open my eyes, and when I blink, ooh, it's a little bit more interesting. But I don't know, I think this is a really good way to play with color, because, you know, you don't have to blend all the way up to your eyebrows like the Instagram people do right away. I mean, you can work yourself up to that level, but I like to start off here. So to blend that in the crease, I'm going to take the lighter tone of that orange called Millie, And I'm just gonna tap off that brush. That hurts my finger. And I'm actually gonna use the same brush. And I'm gonna use that to blend this out. So again, I don't wanna go in too fast with too much. Just lightly and slowly working this color a little bit higher into my crease. And actually, sometimes when I'm working on my top lid, I lift my chin, tilt my head back so that I have more space to work with. See, when it's down, I don't see that much of my lid, but when I go like this, I see all of my lid. It's perfect. Trying to sort of erase or blend those harsh lines that we have. But I don't want to just go in ham and start swiping away everywhere, because that's just going to remove my pigment, and it also might create a shape that I don't necessarily want. So I think with color, it's better to take a more controlled approach. When, you know, with browns and neutrals, you can kind of be a little bit more careless, just because it isn't going to look so obvious if the shape isn't correct. It kind of blends into your skin. But with something more vibrant, I think it's important to take the extra time. Again, taking that Millie shade. Slowly start working that into the crease. And just to diffuse that color a little bit more, I think I'm actually going to jump into the color Yosemite, which is this bright yellow right here. And I'm just going to lightly run this along the edges. I don't want the yellow to overpower the orange. I just want it to be a hint to help the orange fade. I'm happy with how that's looking so far. So now comes the tricky part. I'm actually going to do a smoked out wing liner with the dark green. So I'm not the best at wing liner, I will admit. But to help me, I have these eye tapes here. So we're gonna give this a whirl. They come in a pack of 40, which is huge. And they're really, really big. So I definitely don't need that large of a wing. So I actually just cut them in half. So with my eye shape, I have to be very careful because my eyes are downturned. So I don't want to go straight out, or else it's just gonna look funny on my eyes. I'm really focusing on this waterline, my lower lash line, and my brow. So if my waterline were to continue, where would it go? I'm going to, sorry, this is kind of hard to do on camera. I'm going to try to get this as close to my lash line as possible. To the other side, and I want to make them even. And I learned this trick from Katie Jane Hughes. When you're making your wings, you kind of dart your eyes back and forth between the two, which sounds odd, but like, so when I'm applying this, I'm also keeping this side in the corner of my eye so that they can be symmetrical. Your brain will automatically do it. It's amazing. God created us. So, so amazing. All right. Okay, I'm hoping those look pretty even. They look even to me. Okay, so again, my camera was not recording. I don't know how long it went, but basically I just took the e.l.f. Flawless Finish Foundation in the shade 140 Light Ivory, which is more of a satin finish, and because it's a little bit light for me, I mixed in a little bit of the Revlon Candid Foundation in the shade Creme Brulee 150. And like I was saying, the e.l.f. foundation is one of my favorites. It has more of a satin finish, so even though it's not super dewy, it doesn't cling to any dry patches and it doesn't dry out or look too heavy on my very dry skin. And the Revlon foundation is one of my favorites from the drugstore as well. It is more of a matte finish, not super matte, kind of skin-like, but less glowy, satiny than the e.l.f. foundation. So they both wear pretty well on my skin. They don't emphasize any of my pores or things like that. And I'm going to wipe off any of the foundation on my lips because that's one of my pet peeves. I'm going to go ahead and apply some concealer now. I'm going to go back into this Born to Glow concealer from NYX. This is in the shade Alabaster. It's also a little bit light for me, but we'll make it work. I think I'm gonna let that sit for a couple seconds just so I can get the most coverage out of it as I can. I don't have another concealer that's in a darker shade, so I'm just gonna take a little bit more of that foundation and try to plop it right here on this guy. And also here. That's pretty good. Always sits like right in the most terrible spots, like right here where everyone sees, right here that's super obvious, right here by my mouth. It's like can't they be like on the sides or like under my face? Like no, I guess I can't. I guess that would be too easy. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and blend that out now. And I'm just being careful over here where we already applied. Why am I like punching into this mirror? I can just take this other one. Do you guys remember that? That was like a thing in high school. Everyone was like derp-a-der, or I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but when someone said something stupid, you'd be like der or derp-a-der or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Yeah, so I really like the way that looks. It doesn't look drying. It just melts right into the skin. It looks very, very skin-like, and it's almost undetectable on the skin, I would say. If I had a shade that was a little bit closer to my skin tone, I think it would be better because you can still see some of my dark circles peeking through, and sometimes that can happen if one, obviously you have a lighter coverage concealer, but also if you have a shade that's a little bit too light for you. So I'm going to try to build it up a little bit. See if we can get these circles. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm just going to touch up the brows a little bit. Sticking with the e.l.f. theme, I'm just going into my e.l.f. brow pencil in the shade Neutral Brown. And I really love this pencil. It's only $2 from the drugstore, which that's amazing. Who doesn't like a $2 brow pencil? Since you go through them so fast, like you don't want to be spending $20 every time you run out of your brow pencil. Like, and I really like this pencil because it has a good tone for brow pencil. It's not too warm, which sometimes I find to be the case with brow pencils from the drugstore that are brown colored. They can be a little bit too red or orange, and this one almost has a green undertone, which sounds weird, but it's not noticeable. It's just like a really dark green undertone, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and jump back in with the sponge and blend out this concealer, see if I can get a little bit more coverage. Okay, so yeah, it's not the most full coverage concealer, but it's nice and hydrating. I'm going to finish up the eyes while we're here. And I'm gonna take a very small pointed brush and I'm gonna dip back into that tank shade, and I'm going to work on connecting this wing. I think I might have brought the wing a little bit too far vertical, so I'm just extending it a little bit. Trying to bring it out slightly. Nope, I regret that. So okay, I'm gonna hop back into this brush and sharpen up that line again. I'm really just trying to make sure that the shapes are symmetrical. I don't know how this is gonna turn out, but just to give me the vision, I'm gonna go ahead and apply lips next. I feel like that'll help me see the final look. So I'm gonna use a cream product for my cheeks, so I'm gonna do those first. I'm gonna go into this Flower Beauty Blush Balm. I really like these. They're a little bit sheer, but they're very dewy, so they give your cheeks a nice plump look. And actually, I'm gonna try this first, and if I want a little bit more intensity, I'm gonna go into this Glossier Cloud Paint. It's still pretty affordable, but if you don't want to splurge on the Cloud Paint, then yeah, you can totally just stick with the Blush Balm because they are beautiful. And I don't know if I told you the shade. This one is in the shade Pinched. It's a very nice nude color, and see how it just blends right into your skin. I'm gonna add a little bit more just because I love blush. I do think I want a little bit more color. If you like it like this and you aren't a big fan of blush, you can leave it as is, but I'm gonna just use the tiniest amount of this because it is very, very pigmented. This is in the shade Dawn. It's a beautiful, vibrant orange. And I put some on the back of my hand and I tapped my sponge into it. And I'm just gonna apply some of that to my cheeks. And immediately you can see just how much color that adds, so much life to my face. I love it. And you don't need a lot, that's amazing. So this will last you like forever. It'll last you a lifetime. I'm gonna put a little bit on my nose. To bronze, I'm gonna go into another cream product. This is the Tower 28 Bronzino bronzer in the shade West Coast. And this is a very warm cream with a little bit of shimmer. I just tapped my sponge directly into the product, and I'm going to tap a little bit off on the back of my hand. And I'm just going to slowly start building that up around the perimeters of my face, along the hairline, on the cheeks, a little bit along the jawline as well. But this is more warm, so can't really contour with it. I'm just doing it so that it's not super bright down here and dark everywhere else. I'm gonna put a little bit on my chin to balance out my face. I feel like it looks weird when we apply bronzer here and here and then there's just nothing. Like, I don't know. I just want to balance everything out. Apply a little bit to my nose. I want to intensify my eyebrows a little bit, so I'm going to take a brown powder. You can use an eyeshadow powder or a brow powder. And I'm just gonna work in the opposite direction, combing my hairs this way. Just sort of lightly dust that so that they look a little bit more full. I'm gonna go ahead and add some liner to my waterline. I'm gonna use the Maybelline Tattoo Studio in the shade Bold Brown. And do the upper waterline as well. I'm gonna apply some bottom lash mascara. I want to intensify the lips a little bit more, so I'm going to add a little bit more of that Globetrotter shade. Okay, so my battery died. Basically all that I did is apply some black liner to hide the lash band. I added a bit more bronzer. I added the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer in the shade Bronzer, and I touched up my brows a little bit. I added some brow gel, the Essence Make Me Brow. I think I might have went a little overboard there, but we're just gonna go ahead and comb through those since they're dry. Hopefully tone down the pigment a little bit, but you know what? It is what it is at this point. To finish, I'm just gonna add some highlights. I'm gonna go into this Makeup Revolution times Soph X palette, and I'm going to mix these two shades. I really like this palette. The highlights in here are very intense, but this is an intense look, so I'm just gonna apply it to the top of the cheekbones in swirling motions. I'm gonna avoid my blemish over here as best I can. A little bit under the brows, tip in the nose, between the eyes. I'm gonna apply a little bit in the inner corner, just the gold shade. And I'm gonna take this white highlight on the very tippy tops of my cheekbones. There we go. Just gonna blend. And then to finish, I'm gonna use the Catrice Dewy Spray one more time. And when that's almost dry, I'm just gonna take my sponge and gently pat everything into the skin. So yeah guys, this is the finished look. I like how it turned out. It reminds me of fall, and even though it has some color, I think it's still pretty wearable. So yeah, thank you again for watching, and if you haven't already, I would love it if you subscribed and click on the bell so you can be notified every time that I upload. Thank you so much. I love you. Bye.